In this video, we're going to be looking at MED, which is an optional non-transitive attribute. And this is a topology that we're going to be using. So it's the same as the topologies that we've been using previously, except I've moved things around a bit. Now R1, R2, and R3 are all in AS123, and R4 is on its own in AS4. And the reason for MED, which is also called metric, is you can't directly influence a neighboring AS's policy, but you could give it a subtle suggestion. Like you can try to influence in how it comes in. So let's say that R1 takes the top path through R2 to get into your AS. So it goes through R2 and then comes in through GE001. And you want any packets for a particular route. It doesn't have to be for all routes, it could be just for a particular route. So here we've got an additional route, which is 100.100.100.4. And you want for that particular route for AS123 to come in through the GE00 interface via R3. Then you set the metric, and the lower the metric, the better. And you set the metric lower on the GE00 interface, hoping that the neighboring AS hasn't used something like local preference or AS path for routing policy, and it will take this path. So let's jump onto our devices. We're going to start with R1 and just see what our neighborships are showing. Hopefully our neighborships should be up. So show BGP summary. We have a neighborship with R2 and R3, which is good. And let's just jump straight over to R4 then. Show BGP summary.
If you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, as 86% of viewers aren't currently subscribed.
And that is also up. Let's also do a look at the interfaces. I don't think I've configured that additional prefix, which I haven't. So let's just jump onto that and configure that under the loopback. Edit interfaces, loopback 0.0, and family INET address, which is 100.100.100.4/32. And I will commit that. Then I will jump back onto R1 and see if I can see that being propagated through BGP. So show route protocols BGP for 100.100.100.4. And we can see that it is actually taking the path via R2. We know that because it's a star, and we could test that by running a trace route, trace 100.100.100.4. And we could also see for our 4.4.4 path, it takes the top path. Yeah, so by the time I finish this configuration, what I'm expecting is so let's have a look at the diagram again. I'm expecting it to take the top path through R2 to get to 4.4.4.4, but take the bottom path through R3 to get to our 100.100.100.4 network. And to do this, I will jump onto R4 and I will create a brand new policy. So our current policy, show policy options, is our direct one. I will create a brand new policy, which is edit policy options for the policy statement. We're just going to call it MED. Set term 1. Set term 1 from our route filter, our direct prefix, which is 100.100.100.4/32, exact. Then we say set term 1. Then our metric, we're going to make it 15. I'm not actually sure if there is a default MED set with BGP, but I know that the lower the metric, the more preferred the path. So I'm thinking if I put a metric of 15, well, let's try it anyway. So a metric is 15, and then let's say then accept, and then add that to BGP, edit protocols, BGP for RC external group, RC external, set neighbor, which is 10.1.34.3, We're going to export out this policy, and the policy is called MED. Do a commit check on that, see if I've missed anything. No, and we commit that. Now we run back over to R1 and we do a trace for R4, which still goes through the 10.1.12.2 path. But when we do a trace for our prefix of 100.100.100.4, it still goes through the top path. So yeah, it doesn't look like there's any default MED set. So what I will do, I will take it off of our neighbor of R3 and I'll put it on R2. So let me just do a show here. Show. So you see, because we've added our MED export to R3 and there's no MED on R2, then if it's a default of 0, it's going to be higher. But if I put the MED of 15 on R2, it should theoretically make our default MED of 0 on R3 more preferred. So let me just edit neighbor 10.1.34.3. Yeah, let me say delete export MED up, and then set neighbor 10.1.24.2, and we'll put the export MED on this one, and it should only be for that particular route. Commit check again. Let's do a show just to double check, sanity check. Yeah, looks good. Let's commit that. Again, let's ping to R4. Oh, I've messed up that policy. Top, edit, policy options, policy statement, MED, show. I will add an additional one, so set term to, then accept, show. Let's commit that. I think what it was doing, it was just stopping everything else. Let's go again. Let's ping trace to R4. Yeah, so to get to the 4.4.4 network, it's going via R2, and let's try it for 100.100.100.4. Brilliant. And to get to 100.100.100.4, it goes through R3. That was some live troubleshooting there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.